If I was a YouTuber back in 2010 needing to build a semi-budget workstation for number one, content creation, a bit of software development coming second, with a bit of gaming, what would I have put together? So before I answer that incredibly amazing question, let's set the scene for 2010. This was the era, I would say in my opinion, where quad-core CPUs were becoming affordable. DDR2 and DDR3 were battling it out, SATA 2 drives were starting to give way to SATA 3 drives, SSDs were a luxury for the rich, and finally, this was the year your mom got her first BlackBerry and was constantly hitting me up on BlackBerry Messenger. So with that out the way, let's now answer that question. What hardware would I have picked? Now just keep in mind, I have purposely picked this hardware rather strategically. Starting with the CPU and motherboard, I stuck with Intel's long-lived 775 socket. For the CPU, we went with the Core 2 Quad Q9400, which was a smart buy. Quad-core power at around $170 back in 2010. And it was cheaper than the Q9500 that actually came out in early 2010 with only a minor clock bump. So you pretty much got the same CPU, just slightly less highly clocked. And keep in mind, there were newer platforms like the LGA 1156 or AMD's AM3 platform, but because those were, I guess, more pricier and less established at the time, the 775 socket just made more sense. So I ended up pairing that with a budget Asus P5G41T-M Alex motherboard for around $60, which also gave us the ever-needed DDR3 support without breaking the bank. Moving on to RAM, I went with 8 gigs of DDR3, which was sort of the sweet spot for a workstation back in 2010. 2 4 gig sticks kept dual channel performance intact, though kits did cost a premium, roughly between $100 to $150 in the later stages of 2010, but still worth it from a future perspective, as if I had upgraded a couple of years later, I would have been able to carry that DDR3 onto my next build. Moving on to the GPU, by 2010, media applications were beginning to tap into GPU acceleration for some of their workloads. Applications being like Photoshop CS4, CS5, also notably, PowerDirector 9 was the first 64-bit consumer video editor to lean on GPUs for H.264 encoding and decoding. Now back then, NVIDIA CUDA was the standard for stability, so I decided to go with the NVIDIA Quattro 2000 1 gig card, and that is 1 gig of GDDR5. It was released at the end of 2010 at around $600, but it was reliable and offered great acceleration for creative workloads. Gaming performance, on the other hand, was rather modest. I wouldn't pair it to a GTS 450, even though they have the same chip, but if you were comparing it like for like from a performance perspective, it performed more like a 9800 GT at the time. So as for storage, I had to think quite hard about this. SSDs would have been way out of our budget after the money we just spent on that Quattro 2000. So we would have had to stick with good old mechanical hard drives. But again, there was a bit of strategic thinking around here. So let me lay it out. First of all, we would have needed a dedicated operating system drive, we would have needed a media storage / content drive, and a scratch drive for Photoshop and PowerDirector. A scratch drive basically acts as a temporary overflow space that software uses when your system RAM is full, basically swapping out massive project files onto the disk to prevent that software from crashing. So with that out the way, here is the 3-drive setup. I went with an 80 gig SATA drive for the Windows Vista Ultimate operating system. For media and games and that type of stuff, I went with a Seagate Barracuda SATA 2 250 gig drive. And for the dedicated scratch drive, I just went with a small Western Digital 40 gig SATA drive. And that 40 gig drive would be more than enough as a scratch drive for both PowerDirector and Photoshop CS3 Extended Edition. As for the PSU and case, I would have gone with something like a 550 or 600 watt unit from probably Antec or Corsair, or even the Gigabyte Odin back then I know was a good one. As for the case, we went with something a bit understated like a JPack Gothic, plenty of drive bays, no flashy lights, and even a handle for portability. So let's now run through the entire pricing range. Looking at our pricing range overall, starting with the CPU, that Intel Core 2 Quad Q9400 would have ranged between $160 and $180 based on what I could find. As for our motherboard, that would have been between $40 and $60. For RAM, it would have been between $100 and $150, more towards the end of 2010. As for our GPU, that was released at $600. For our PSU, that would have been roughly between $75 and $80, and the case, more the lower tier case, that $40, $50 range, and storage would have been a good estimate between $100 and $140 based on the various different pricing I saw that I had to average out. So that sort of gives us a total of between, I'd say, $1,100 and $1,200. So yeah, rather high when I first took a look at it, but no ways as higher as the pre-built workstations that were available at the time. So looking at some of these Z400 workstations, looking at like an entry model in 2010, usually came around that $1,000 to $1,100 mark. It shipped with an Intel Xeon W3503, which was a dual core at 2.4 gigahertz, no hyperthreading. This specific build that I found also only came with 3 gigs of RAM, a single 250 gig hard drive, and a NVIDIA Quadro FX 380 with 512 megs of GDDR3. But here's the kicker. That Core 2 Quad Q9400 that we picked up was actually faster than that Xeon. Please note, you can also find links to the Z400 builds in the description. Alright, so the mid-range Z400 that I managed to find, which cost roughly $2,000. This setup included a Xeon W3520 quad-core CPU at 2.6 gigahertz. It did have hyperthreading though, so 8 threads. It had 3 gigs of ECC memory, RAID 0 with two 160 gig Samsung drives, a dual quadro card setup here. So it had an FX 380 with 256 megs of VRAM and a FX 1600 with 768 megs of VRAM. So definitely more serious hardware, but the price obviously jumped significantly. Now moving on to the most expensive Z400 review I could find, dated back in September 2010. This unit came in at $3,298. So the specs included, again, the Xeon W3520, 6 gigs now though of DDR3, an AMD FirePro V5700 with 512 megs of VRAM. It did have two Seagate drives, but different sizes. So it came with a 250 gig Seagate Barracuda and a 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda. They also chucked in a Creative X5 titanium sound card, and it was all powered by a 470 watt power supply. Anyways, crazy pricing. So based on what we've sort of put together, I don't think we've come in at such a bad price. Yes, it's not crazy performance, but for the time it was what I consider a good workhorse, if you want to call it that. This now brings us to the end of part 1. In part 2, we will be running through some benchmarks to show what this PC could do back in 2010. I'll also be touching on the actual content creation side of things from a software perspective, and also I plan on adding some virtual machines for some software development. Anyways, but catch us this Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern US time, where I'll be live streaming this entire build from start to finish. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like. Anyway, cheers.